Welcome back to Your Hour. Joining me now is Eric Litweiler from MHA, and we're going to say this one more time. MHA is Mental Health at the...
Mental Health Authority? Is that what you were going to say? I mean, that's okay too. You know, whatever works.
I got my tongue in front of my eye teeth and I couldn't see what I was saying. Anyway, it's Mental Health Association of South Central Kansas.
There you go.
I did it eventually. So what did you want to talk about today?
So today we had a last minute change, but I wanted to talk about Saturday because Saturday is National Survivors of Suicide Loss Day. And this is a national event. It's obviously celebrated in Wichita as well. It's an annual thing. And of course this year they're offering both an in-person option and a virtual option. I think last year it was maybe purely virtual.
Okay.
So I think this year they're giving the option for in-person as well.
Okay. So where will it be?
Well, the virtual option, I'm trying to think the best way of doing this. I have like the flyer for it, and I think we threw it up on our website, so I would probably tell people just to visit the website. There's a link on there. They're going to have to register anyway, regardless of which option they want to do. So, and there's also a number on there for the person and like an email address and phone number for her, kind of the coordinator of the event, because it's not offered through MHA per se. We're obviously participating, in part because it's just a mental health thing in general. But obviously we've talked before about the fact that MHA is actively participating in the Zero Suicide Initiative this year as well. So we'll be a part of it, especially because of that. So it's not offered through us, but we're trying to kind of help get the information out there. So the flyer is on our website at mhasck.org. Again, along with the contact person, her phone number, her email address to ask questions, the link to register, the whole thing is all out there. Is probably the easiest way.
Okay, yeah, that would be easy. And that's, say that website again.
So yeah, mhasck.org stands for Mental Health Association of South Central Kansas, mhasck.org.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we talked about suicide at length earlier because I think, was it September was Suicide Awareness
believe that's
Month,
right.
or Suicide
Yeah.
Prevention Awareness Month.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a serious issue because I don't think you can talk to a single person who doesn't know someone that they've lost to suicide,
Yeah.
whether it was a family member or a really good friend or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that really just points to kind of, you know, what we all call the 6 degrees of separation. But I mean, there aren't, in the grand scheme, you can say, well, the number of people who take their own lives in a given year is relatively small. I think last year in Sedgwick County it was 105 people. And if you look at that as a percentage of the population, it's easy to say, well, maybe that's not that many people. But the fact that you're absolutely right, it's impossible to talk to somebody who hasn't been touched by that. And what that tells us is that every single incident, and it goes back to our thing, one suicide is too many, that every incident has such a massive ripple effect throughout the community, their friend group, their family members, their coworkers, whatever it is. And so what I think this day, Saturday, really points to is the fact that so many people who that person loved are left behind.
Yeah.
And we're left to feel like, why didn't I see it?
Yeah.
Why didn't I say something? Why didn't I do something? Why didn't, you know, all these unknowns, all of the regrets that we're left with, are left in our hearts and in our minds, and we don't know what we should have done or what we could have said. We're the survivors of suicide loss. It's not people who, you know, were going to and then somehow survived it. It's the people who actually did take their own lives and left all those friends and those family members and those loved ones behind, and we're left dealing with the grief of that.
Well, the grief, and I think, you know, you touched on it when you said, you know, people are asking, what could I have done?
Yeah.
What should I have seen? What, you know, there's a certain amount of guilt.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There is guilt. You know, I think there's still enough not known about or really understood about mental health that there's still shame. There are still people out there who, you know, parents I think often feel this way. they're ashamed. I clearly was not a good parent, or my daughter would not have taken her own life. And that's, again, it's not actually, it shouldn't be shameful to them, but again, it's a lack of understanding about the causes of suicide, the causes of mental illness. That some of that is felt as well. But yeah, guilt, you're absolutely right. And so this event really is intended to just allow people who have all shared this similar experience to come together, to connect, to tell stories, to remember their loved ones, to try to heal. It's intended to do all of those things. And so it's a really important event that we have in our community every year, and I certainly hope people will visit that website, register, and come. There's a lunch provided for those who do it in person as well, but it's a really important thing to come together and do.
You know, I wonder if any studies have been done with people who have taken their own lives. I wonder if there have been any studies done that would indicate maybe a brain dysfunction or something that allowed them to do that?
Yeah, I don't know. That is a really good question. I don't know either if
'Cause I
they've
know they're
done CAT
studying-
scans and that sort of thing.
I know
Yeah.
they're studying concussions
Yeah.
in athletes and that type of thing.
Right.
It just seems to me like that would be a study that would be worth.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, you're right. One of the challenges is, and we have a couple people on staff who serve on the Kansas Suicide Coalition. And so, of course, we're really fortunate that we pretty early on have a pretty good handle on how suicide has touched Kansas and even individual counties and cities. And I know that one of the challenges they always face is, as a coalition or as investigative bodies, trying to figure out, it's not always clear when someone takes their own life that that's actually what happened.
Right.
And so I know we often, even we, with people on the coalition, don't get those numbers often until September, October of the next year, because there's so much investigation that goes into that. We think of suicide, almost people who haven't experienced it directly, as this tidy thing. Someone writes a note, they take their own life, someone later finds the body, finds the note, and we know. But it's not cut and dried like that.
No.
And so the investigation and time that goes into determining the causes, the issues at play, the hows, the whys, the whens, it's not a quick process. And I think we would run into the same thing wanting to do a study like that. We don't always necessarily know that it was a suicide.
Right. Well, and there again, they don't always leave a note.
Right,
either.
that's exactly
Yeah.
right. Absolutely.
So-
Yeah. So it's a challenge, but nonetheless, like I said, our belief is one is too many, and we're going to be part of this initiative. We're going to be part of this event on Saturday, because as long as one is too many, we're going to try to keep even one from happening.
Yeah, so that would be great.
Yep.
Well, Eric, it's always a pleasure having you here.
I
Thanks for
appreciate
joining
it.
us.
Thanks,
today.
Cheryl.
And we'll be back in just a couple of minutes with Dr. Charles.